This past year, we've been busy looking at alternatives and reviewing the funds that are within our plan. To help us in doing that, we've engaged the services of CBIZ, which is a retirement plan consulting service out of Kansas City. And we have one of the principal members of that organization, Cindy Moore, who you'll hear in just a minute. As far as the consultant services responsibilities, this kind of gives you an overview of what we have them do. And they're responsible for reviewing all the investment managers that are within our plan. They monitor changes that are happening within those investment management firms. They attend meetings up here in Sioux City with the retirement plan committee, at least annually. Most recent project is we had them go through every single investment option that we offer within our plan, and looking at are we in the best possible investment option when you can compare return, risk, and cost. We want to make sure that we have a diversified portfolio that we offer to employees, and an expense structure that's not too expensive, because the higher expenses, the lower the return, because the funds end up covering those expenses and stuff. And so CBIZ comes in with a lot of paper, a lot of work, a lot of comparisons. So we'll go through those, like I said, on an annual basis, just to make sure that we're being prudent in overseeing the retirement plan. The objectives of the review that we just finished are these 6 that you see up there. Again, we wanted to build a fund menu that with consideration to risk and return. We wanted to retain the TI traditional fund. That was probably the most popular fund that employees are in. And so that concept in that fund has been retained in what you're going to be seeing here shortly. We want to make sure we offer a broad range of low correlating investment accounts across all asset classes. And Cindy will cover the different asset classes that we're proposing here. And we want to make sure that we offer both passive and active type management accounts. Some of us like the index funds that are really low cost, and others like to be in managed funds, which are a little higher cost, but try to beat the index. And so we offer both options now with those. And again, like I said, we try to keep fund expenses below the 50th percentile, so that the costs aren't eating into those returns. And then providing access to an excellent suite of target date funds. Right now, when you enroll, which everyone is automatically enrolled when you start here, you don't have to sign up. You're just enrolled in the retirement plan. And if you don't provide us with your investment options, we automatically put you in one of the target date funds. That's our default investment. And then obviously you can go out and change that to whatever you want to do after that point in time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cindy, who's going to talk about what they've done for us and some of the recommended funds that we're going to be offering you here.
I want to say thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a pleasure. Whenever it comes to the fund selection and monitoring of the investment options available to you. And in doing so, we are acting in the best interest of plan participants to carry that duty out. So we're looking out for you as far as you are our main focus and priority when we were making decisions. Now, we also all have to have basically the knowledge, the skill, the prudence, and the care to act as a fiduciary. So the committee's asking questions and they're hiring CBIZ to help them in that regard. You know, when we're when we're making decisions, it's exclusively to make sure that we're providing benefits to participants, so enhancing the benefit to the participant and or your beneficiary. So increasing your retirement accumulation is our #1 goal. And Ron had mentioned defraying costs. We definitely have done our best. Your costs were very, very good before, and they're even better now. So for the purpose at the very end of the day is so that all of you guys can retire on your terms, when you want, how you want, etc. So the basic changes that are happening have to do with a new platform that TIAA offers, and it is slightly different than what you currently have available to you. So this is basically to give you that information, how it differs from your current platform. We'll talk about the benefits that you will reap from this change, as well as some of the funds and expenses that we are going to be offering. Anybody that's coming in later, there's some handouts at the very back of the room on the chair, or there's some right up here at the front if you like them.
And we will be emailing all these PowerPoint slides to everyone too, so you'll have that.
So this will all be available to you at a later time. So the platform. I think it's always important to know where you're at before you know where you're going. So we're going to kind of take a look at the current platform that you are on in the retirement plan. You may have seen on your statements or even in enrollment material or communication material reference to a lot of acronyms. TIAA uses a lot of acronyms. They have contracts called retirement annuity, RA contracts, supplemental retirement annuity, SRA, GSRA for group supplemental retirement. Okay, so all of these are basically the contracts that you have enrolled in within the retirement plan. You have your 401A, which is the contribution that Morningside puts into the plan, and then you have your 403B, where you put your contributions in. All of those contracts that I just mentioned are annuity contracts. They were invented 100 years ago, in 1918 basically, and it was really designed for retirement income. The TIA traditional, which is your fixed interest account that you have, that was invented in 1918. And then in 1950, they came out with some variable, the Crump Stock Fund, for you to be able to kind of outpace the rate of inflation and so forth. So you've got your annuity product, that's where your investments are today. Those are individually owned by the participant. So you basically make the direction and you get a contract. You have your agreement with TIAA. Unfortunately, those contracts only allow investing in TIA funds or CREF funds or TIA CREF funds. So proprietary investment options available there. Now the TIA traditional account does have a little bit of liquidity issues in order for it to give you that robust fixed interest that they're offering. The payout, if you were wanting to retire today or take a distribution, the payout of that specific account, just the TIA traditional account, would be paid out over 9 years and 1 day. And there's no offering of any other type of stable value or capital preservation fund in your current contract. So that's it. So it does have a little bit of liquidity problems there. Also, right now, as an individual contract, an individual annuity owner, your pricing or your share class or the cost of the funds is just one set fee. So basically, it's all embedded in the cost of your fund today. And expenses that are administrative in nature that TIA has to collect are collected from the revenue sharing in the mutual funds and the annuity products that you currently have. Now, that's where you are. What TIA has done is updated their product module to be more like a 401k, more of a group aspect versus an individual product. So that we are now going to call that the Retirement Choice Product, RC. So you'll see that acronym throughout some of the other material. Want to let you know that we are basically, Ron, this process is for Ron and the finance facilities. Is that right? Facilities?
Finance
group?
Facilities Committee.
There you go, to make a recommendation to the board in May in order for us to move forward with conversion to the retirement choice contract. So what will you benefit? What benefits are there in those contracts that now we can offer mutual funds from various different fund families. So we have thousands from which we can choose, and we basically did a filter of those funds in order for us to bring to you a nice, round, diversified portfolio. The account is basically held in a trust for the plan, so not individual accounts anymore. We still have the TIA traditional fund, but it's a little bit different. The payout period has been shortened to 7 years if you wanted to do that, or if you want to pay a small surrender penalty of 2%, you can take it all at one time. The good news is, in addition to offering that TIA traditional with that guaranteed rate of return, we've also added another option called the stable value fund. And the stable value fund has full liquidity. So the interest rate or the guaranteed rate may be slightly lower, but there are no rules of getting the money out. You can move out of that fund at any time and or take your money at any time after separation from service or retirement or what have you. So we have that available too for those people that want the guarantee but a little bit more liquidity. Now what's kind of great about this platform is we're able to bring to you a bunch of different mutual fund managers, but we're specifically looking for institutional class funds, mutual funds that are sold in bundles and big groups. So you guys all get the buying power of one another. And the money within the plan gets that buying power as well. That means low-cost funds available to you that have no additional revenue sharing or anything built into it. So basically, the fund expense is what you'll pay. And from this point forward, after this conversion point forward, I should say, administrative expenses will literally be deducted from your account. Now, a lot of people say, well, how much are those? Those are 1/5 of 1% per year. So very reasonable. In other words, there's 100 basis points in 1%. So this is 20 basis points per year out of your account. So for $1,000, for every $1,000 is basically $2. Okay, very, very reasonable. Now, how does that benefit you? You know, this updated platform that we have basically allows TIA to also make significant enhancements, and that's that they're going to be focusing specifically on the retirement choice contract. So they have not really updated their annuity contracts for any of, I guess I should say, the enhancements, because they are really focusing on this product being something that's going to take them into the next century. Stable value account, like I mentioned, full liquidity there. Access to name brand money managers such as American Funds, Vanguard, American Century, dimensional investors. We have lots of different types of investment strategies and styles amongst those different managers. So not just a one-stop shop type thing. We've got quant managers. We have ones that are, looking at balance sheets, kind of the value type investors, etc. Spoke about the institutional share class, no hidden fees and no revenue sharing built into it, and you're getting a great reduction in your administrative fees. As we move forward, this platform is going to be TIA's primary focus of providing financial education to you and resources and tools, developing and conveying participant needs in a meaningful manner. So they're going to be able to communicate with you, will know what type of contributions you're making, how old you are, how much you should have saved, and be able to target communication campaigns accordingly. So what's going to happen? I want to point out, and you'll hear me say this probably about 5 times, that this change, number one, is going to be several months in the making. So it's going to be probably somewhere around September of October of this year. All new money So future contributions that are coming out of your paycheck and also Morningside's contributions will be directed to the retirement choice contract. Only your investment election for future contributions will be mapped or will be redirected to the new like funds. So I have a diagram, if you will, and I'm going to kind of go back here to mapping of future contributions, which is at the very back, very last page, so just turn everything over, and you'll see the diagram of that mapping structure. So if you do me a favor and humor me for just a second, you'll see the existing funds on the left-hand side. In the middle, it says, where is new money going to go? And then on the right is the new fund. So for instance, the TIA-CREF money market and the CREF money market are going to go to the TIA Stable Value Fund. So all future contributions will be directed there. The TIA Traditional, we're retaining that fund. So it's going to go, but it's going to be in the new contract, so it's a little bit different. Again, it has that 7-year payout. So it's a little bit slightly different than your current TIA Traditional, but still has that great fixed rate of return. The CREF inflation-linked bond and the CREF bond market are going to, future contributions will be directed to the Goldman Sachs bond fund, and so forth. So you'll see also some of them have just an add. We're just adding that fund. We're not taking or redirecting any contributions to that fund. But if you would like to utilize that fund, you'll have to take action on your own part after the transition in order to be able to do that. So, for instance, the Vanguard Total Bond Market Index Fund is in addition to your portfolio where we have no like fund over in the current mutual fund, or excuse me, annuity platform, the RA contracts that you currently have. Does that make sense? So one of the, probably the biggest change that I think is important to point out is, Ron had mentioned the target date funds. The target date funds are pre-made portfolios, and they are going to be now managed by American Funds. American Funds is a large mutual fund family. Actually, it's the second largest, with, I believe, Vanguard being first. And they have received numerous awards, Lipper Awards, and so forth and so on. But Morningstar recently, or every year I should say, does a fantastic list in which they do a filter of 8,000 mutual funds. And based on this filter, they look for long tenured managers, superior performance, superior risk-adjusted returns, low expenses, managers that eat their own cooking, so they invest in their own funds, etc. Right? Out of 8,000 mutual funds that are currently being filtered, last year, 45 hit their fantastic list. And out of those 45, American Funds had 11 funds out of those 45, so a quarter of them were American Funds. And out of those 11 funds, 100% of them are used when building the pre-made portfolios called the target date funds. So excellent fund manager, definitely worth looking into as a pre-made portfolio for you, something that could be easily a diversified portfolio utilizing 16 of American Funds mutual funds to put those together. When we talk about this target date fund, it's a pre-made portfolio that's made up of a bunch of different mutual funds. 16 mutual funds, one mutual fund would normally have 200 to 400 different securities within that fund, so it wouldn't be uncommon for this to have thousands of different securities in one target date fund. Excellent diversifier. So those funds will become available, and future contributions that are currently being directed to your TIA-CREF life cycle funds will now be, or will be mapped to the target date funds with American Funds. We also have another couple of other funds that we're adding, such as the Vanguard, or excuse me, yeah, Vanguard, Total International Stock Market, that are, although we're adding a bunch of other funds, this fund wouldn't particularly have any money being mapped to it directly. Any questions about this mapping structure that we have? Yes, ma'am.
You had said this will start like in October. What happens to anything you would have in there before then? Is it by mapping, do you say it's moving over into these funds, or are these TIA funds still going to be operating?
Good question. Okay, so during this next process, basically everything stays as is. So any of your contributions and your existing money is going to stay in the TIA annuity contracts, the RA contracts, et cetera, et cetera. You'll receive further communication about 45 days or so before the actual effective date, in which, as of that date, only new contributions that you're contributing and Morningside is contributing will be invested in these new funds. Existing money, so any money that you have in the retirement annuity contracts will stay there. All money will stay there unless you take action to the contrary. So you get to control that because this is your annuity, right? You can, if you want, after the new funds are available, you can make an election to transfer any of that money to the retirement choice contract. The TIA traditional will have a 9-year and 1-day payout, so you can only take 10% at any given time from that fixed account. But all the other funds are eligible for you to move over to the new contract. Those are just new investment options available to you. Okay? So the effective date is probably around October 1st, and any money received after October 1st will be invested in the new funds only and no more in the old funds. Does that make sense? Answer your question?
Yeah, I'm wondering because so basically, is it just Morningside or is everyone stopping putting money in those old funds? Are they kind of dying out,
It's a trend, yes. So, long story short is that this product has been available for more than 5 years. However, universities have been slow to move to it. Larger ones have been slow to move to it for various reasons. With the limited fund offerings and the annuity structure and so forth, it is something that TIA has been urging plan sponsors to do as it becomes or behooves them, I guess. And so one of the things that probably was most attractive to the retirement choice contract is that the expenses, the way that we can gather expenses and the lowering of those expenses, and the institutional priced funds that are available, the mutual funds. So all of the organizations out there have been broached at least once, I can guarantee you, about doing this type of conversion. They have been slowly going over to the new contract. It is actually the wave of the future. I would say it's best practices. It's much more in line with qualified retirement plans. And again, this is the product that's going to be enhanced in the future. Okay. All right, so existing money will stay in those retirement annuity contracts, that RA contract, unless you take action. Now, how can you take action? We're going to actually do like a little pre-recorded webinar to kind of show you how to do those transactions. But Ron said that he actually got online and tried to do it himself, and he figured it out. So he thinks that
If I can figure it out, anybody.
it actually isn't difficult. However, we do want to make sure that it's clear. You know, you kind of have two retirement plans with Morningside. One is the employer contributions, and we call that the 401A, and then you have your employee contributions as the 403B. And so those two plans come over to the retirement choice contract as two plans. So you can only transfer money from the RA contracts that are in the 401A to the 401A and the RC contracts. It's a little bit confusing to some people. That's why we're going to do a video, because people learn everything so much better when they can see it visually happening. We'll do that a little bit later when it gets closer to the time that you can actually do these transactions.
We're not saying, I think when Cindy was mentioning that the current funds are bad funds. I mean, the TIA funds are good funds, and they've been good for many, many years. But what this RC contract allows us to do is to look at all other different types of funds. Before, we were restricted in the old contracts to just TIA funds only. Now it allows us to look at American Century funds and the American funds and a lot of other funds, and we say, well, this is a good fund, but we think this is even a better fund. And so it gives us the option to offer those, receive better funds. So from your standpoint, in the old money, you choose whether you want to keep your money in the old accounts or you can move them into the new accounts that we're planning on using. Again, your choice. And if you want to transfer them, you can do it by a phone call or go online on the computer and do it yourself. But Cindy had mentioned they're developing a webinar that kind of has a tutorial to show you how to do that.
So those of us that are challenged can still make a phone call.
That's correct. You can still do all of these transactions through your telephone. Also, after or around, I should say, after the transition period, we will be asking TIA reps to be on site to help individuals, so you have individual opportunities as well. I saw a hand in the back.
So are the current ones, I mean, even the life cycle and such, annuity funds, and the new ones are straight mutual funds?
So there's a mixture.
Okay.
We have a few mutual funds with TIA right now. If it starts with TIA-CREF, those are actually filed with the SEC as a mutual fund, with FINRA as a mutual fund. So you do have some mutual funds right now, but
So
they're
the life
offered.
cycle funds are just straight mutual funds?
Yes, but they are offered in an annuity contract. So now we're going to go to a group custodial account, which is mutual fund account instead. It's really semantics whenever we talk about that, but for the most part, that also means that it's more of an employer level control versus individual annuity, so that you can get the buying power of many versus just one person. Okay. Real quick, I do have a diagram up here called the new investment options. You also have a handout here. And I just wanted to go through a couple of our decisions. You'll see that we've chosen to retain some TIA and or CREF funds, TIA-CREF funds, as we were looking at revamping the fund lineup. And as Ron mentioned, there wasn't anything glaringly wrong with the funds that you have currently. Nothing's wrong particularly with them. However, whenever you get to wipe away everything that you currently have and rebuild something new, we look for kind of best in class in each one of these asset classes. So for instance, American Century Value. American Century, located in Kansas City, very good, what we would consider risk averse fund. So they're looking for dividend paying companies in that large value category. That's where people, that's safe haven, if you will. For people that want to invest in the stock market but have a lower risk stock fund, that's where they would go. American Funds, Investment Company of America, has a wonderful story about how well they've been able to weather the good and bad of the stock market and all of the bad things that can happen. And they've done a great job of doing that. Now we've added the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index in that large cap blend category. It says bond. I apologize, that's a typo. It's blend. And then you'll see that we are retaining the CREF Growth Fund. So that is a CREF fund, style pure, really great fund. We like it. Oh, by the way, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, that is put together using about 60% large companies and 40% small and medium-sized companies. So you're getting all sizes in one-stop shop. So you have DFA, Dimensional Funds, Quant Manager, very unique, uses a great approach to computerized approach, if you will, for their selection. So just a lot of different smatterings of opportunities here. The TIA Traditional, I mentioned. The new TIA Traditional has basically a 2% surrender penalty if you just want to take the money and run, or you can have it paid out over 7 years versus the 9 years in 1 day. So either one, a little bit more liquid, but that stable value fund that's listed there is fully liquid. So that can be moved, and the rate of return is between 2 and 3% right now. So pretty good offering there. For those of you that like that index investing, we have a bond fund also, the Vanguard Total Bond Market Index, that's available to kind of give, if you will, the average rate of return of the bond market. And in that same vein, we also have Vanguard Total International Stock Index Fund for those that want to kind of just do all of it, the U.S., international, and bonds. All three of those funds have a nice diversified portfolio. Now, for people that are into socially responsible funds, we have that CREF Social Choice Fund. It's a balanced fund, so it has stocks and bonds. It's investing in those socially conscious companies, also environmental governance, if you will. And then a great diversifier over here is your specialty fund from TIAA, that are owned real estate, not REITs. So it's owned real estate. Actually, TIA is known as the largest farmland owner in the U.S. So they grow wine. They grow grapes that turn into wine, and nuts and so forth and so on. So also own lots of high-rises and rental properties and so forth. American Funds, your Pacific Growth Fund, has a little bit of emerging markets in it. So they do business in companies that do business in emerging markets, I should say. All of these great opportunities for you to kind of take a look, if you will, at your investment strategy. I do want to point out how American Funds puts their pre-made portfolios together, their target date funds, so that you can kind of see if this is something that is something you would be interested in investing in. The 45 years out over on the left is 45 years before retirement. And the darker the blue, the more risk the investment has. So your stock funds, your growth funds. Your growth and income funds are kind of more dividend type paying stock funds. And the very, very light blue at the very, very top is fixed income, so your bond funds and fixed interest accounts, so lower risk. The lighter the blue, the lower the risk. The darker the blue, the higher the risk. So you can see at 45 years out before retirement, there's significantly more risk being taken because the theory is that you have a long time before you're going to use this money, and you can ride out the ebbs and flows of the market. As you get closer to retirement, they reduce your risk with the underlying investments within that fund. So you see that it's about 55% stocks at age 65-ish, retirement age. And then it's even lower percent in those growth stocks and more in fixed income the further out you go. Now, American Funds figures that you are going to be living in retirement on an average for 20 or more years. Anybody married here? According to statistics, if you're married, you live longer. Some people say it may feel longer. But you have, so you have a long time to live off of this money, and so they're trying to do what they can to make sure that you're not going to outlive it. They do that by changing the allocation as you age. So that's an automatic process. There's nothing you need to do other than age in order for that to happen for you. That's the target date fund. So what's the next steps? I think this is a great time between now and October for you to really look at where are you investing your money? Are there any changes that you want to make? And so there's a couple of ways you do this. You can prepare yourself ahead of time by looking at the mapping structure. And if you decided that you wanted most of your money to go to the target date 2030 fund, then all you would need to do is move your money to the TIA-CREF life cycle, your future contribution, sorry, not your money, but your future contributions, your investment election to the target date the life cycle 2030 fund beforehand. And then whenever the conversion happens, so transition happens, we just copy that over and map it accordingly. So you can prepare in advance for that, or you can do it on the backside. After the transition has happened, remember, this only affects future money, so you can change it at any time so that your future money is invested in accordance with your preference. If you want to use some of the new funds instead that have no mapping structure to them, that's what would be available. All right, so you can do it yourself. You can use the target date funds. Money in the SRA contracts is going to stay there. You can transfer those funds if you want. And just make sure that you're saving enough. Look at your salary deferral. Generally speaking, we say that we should be saving about 10% of our wages, personally. And if you're not there, maybe you can take a step up. Take 1% change. On a $2,000 paycheck, 1% would be 20 bucks. So it's not a whole lot of money. We can usually find $20 just by looking at where we're spending our money today. Ron and I gave up soda so that we could have $20 extra per month, at least out, right? And then take a little look at your beneficiary as well. Make sure you're going, if you should pass away, that your money is going to the person that you want it to go to. So do a little checkup on your retirement. By the time we're 35 years old, we say to be on track for retirement, we should have at least 1 times our annual salary saved in our retirement buckets. Now those are a retirement plan here, IRAs, other retirement plans added all together, any savings that you have, whatever you're going to use for retirement, 1 times my annual salary is saved by the time I'm 35 years old. By the time I'm 45, it needs to be more than 2 times my annual salary. By the time I'm 55, 4. By the time I retire, 10. So based upon that, are you on track? And if you aren't, give yourself a 1 or 2% nudge. You'll be glad you did. Yes, ma'am.
So is there any benefit to taking your old money and moving it into the new account, or?
I would like to say there is.
Okay.
All right, so we did look at investment. Now remember, past performance is not indicative of future results, but we did look at past performance, management, and risk-adjusted returns whenever we were weighing which funds to offer and which ones not to offer. And in that, we believe that you have a superior lineup with the new contract. Okay. Also, the expenses are going to be lower because your annuity contract has a little bit more expense in there. They have about 25 basis points of revenue sharing built into the fund expense, where your new funds don't have any, so you scrunch it down. Pretty good.
As Cindy mentioned, what we did is we looked at all the funds and we compare the various funds that you saw up here with peer group funds and benchmarks and stuff over a 1 year, a 3 year, a 5 year, a 10-year period. And so we're always looking at saying, okay, how does this fund compare to the other group of funds with a similar investment strategy? 1 year they might beat the market, and the next year they don't. But over a period of 3 years and 5 years, are they consistently performing? And so the funds that we're choosing, pretty much every one of those funds is beating the benchmark consistently. But again, past performance is not a guarantee of future. But over the last 3, 5, 10 years, they've been doing very well. So you kind of go with the stats that you have. And so, from my standpoint, again, it's your choice on whether you want to move those old dollars or not. We had an option of automatically moving all of you into the new or letting you make that choice. We decided to let you make the choice. Now the fear there is 90% of the people won't do anything. They'll just leave the money there and start contributing, which may be a good strategy, maybe not. But we want to provide you with the knowledge and the tools that if you want to move the money, you know how to do that.
Will the old one ever go away?
Probably not. We call that gum on our shoes. So whenever you're on annuity contracts, individual annuities, we have, here at Morningside, this plan alone probably has 3 times as many terminated participants with balances as we do actively participating today. We just leave it there. There's a lot, there's several, actually millions of dollars being paid out to retirees right now, but it's still in the plan. So it was designed for very, very long-term investing, individual control, and that's exactly what you currently have. It'll be 100 years or more before we don't go away. I won't be alive.
Cindy had mentioned the importance of investing for your retirement, and it is very important if you want to have a good standard of living once you retire and having funds to do things with. The alarming statistic that we've seen in the news recently is that of those individuals across the country between the age of 55 and 64, 1/3, all of those people have zero saved for their retirement. They don't have a retirement account. That was just alarming to me, that 1/3 of the people in this country that are getting close to retirement have no savings. And those that do have the savings don't have much of a savings account. And so the more that we can save, the more that we properly invest and stuff, the better we're going to be compared to everyone else, that seems like, in the country and stuff. So it is important to maybe give up that soda and drink water when you're out eating and saving that $20, and you can then increase your contribution to your retirement account, and over the years be glad you did.
Well, that's what I did many years ago. I basically started at 5%, and then every year I asked myself, can I bump it up 1%? And more often than not, the answer was yes. And so I am contributing 20% of my wages today, and it's not because I make a ton of money. It's because I learned to live within my means with what I brought home. And yes, sometimes I had to say no, but more often the answer was yes. And I'm so glad I did, because whenever I started, I was 31 years old and I had no money saved at all. And now today I'm on track for my retirement if I can just keep plugging away for a little longer and get the kids off the payroll. I saw a hand back here. You have another question?
Well, yeah, I just wondered if there were any benefits you would lose, like not necessarily on returns or things like that. I never quite understood with the TIA, you know how it says annuity on there, but I asked Paige about that, and she's like, you can use it as an annuity or not, it's your choice, it's a benefit. But I just wondered if there's anything like that you lose by making the switch?
That's a good question. No, we would disclose if you were giving up something major. We're still offering the TIA traditional fund, which frankly is the fund that they would use if you wanted to annuitize later on and receive income from in retirement. That's the fund that they're going to use in order for you to be able to do that. Those annuity options that are available to retirees still there. So we're not getting rid of any of the income benefits, etc. What we're probably doing is getting rid of more of the stigma of the annuity name, more so than anything else. I think it's just basically getting us into a program that will be able to move and to grow as the employee base needs grow. And that's frankly all. That's it. It's just a way for us to be able to fund it in a meaningful manner, buying power of many, not individual annuities. Okay, good question.
For the TIA traditional, you said that it's limited to a 10% withdrawal. Does that mean that you can only move 10% from that fund into the new one?
Right.
And so the 90% just will stay there?
Each year, 10%
Oh, okay, each year.
9 years and 1 day is what it's going to take you to get all of it out. Okay? And that's if you start it today or you start it 20 years from now. It's still the same rules. I want to say thank you so much for your time today. I do want to answer any questions that you may have. You will receive more communications regarding this. This is not the last time. We will be sending out to Tia, we'll be sending out some information to you as the contracts are changed, as, you know, as the board approves this, et cetera. You'll receive it. We just knew that probably a lot of that may be right in the middle of summer. And we wanted to make sure that you were fully aware of the change before. And so you wouldn't be taken surprise whenever you get this notice. That will come probably in the next 60 to 90 days.
The process Cindy kind of talked about is the retirement plan committee reviewed the recommendation from CBIZ and reviewed all the stats and the comparisons and stuff. And the committee of 5 that I showed you, we unanimously endorsed this process and this plan. We then presented that to the Finance Facilities Committee. We're a subcommittee of that committee, and they unanimously endorsed this plan. Now, after we've given you guys what we're planning on doing, we will now take this to the board at the May board meeting on May 12th and 13th. And if the board approves it, we will then notify TIA, and they will begin the process of making the change, which they anticipate is about a 4-month process.
3 to 4 months, right. So basically, we're looking at October 1st probably as our effective date. Okay. Any other questions before you go? Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day.